Hi, welcome to the second lesson, Indices. Today we're going to look at Indice rule number 2. Indice rule number 2 deals with the division of two powers. And what we can see from our statement is that if we divide one power by another, then all we have to do is subtract the power terms, or the indice values, from one another, and that's going to give us the answer. So let's have a look at an expression, x to the 5 divided by x squared. Well, what we should remember is that x to the 5 simply means that we'll have 5 x's all multiplied by one another. And x squared means we have 2 x's multiplied by one another. So if we wish to perform the calculation x to the 5 divided by x squared, then what we do is treat it as a ratio and write it in its long term, and we can see we can start to cancel out terms. The last 2 x's will cancel, top and bottom, and then the next 2 x's can cancel top and bottom, and that leaves us with 3 x's all multiplied together up top and number 1 down the bottom, which then just gives us x to the power 3. So what we can now see is that if we have x to the 5 and we divide it by x squared, that gives us the answer x cubed, which kind of confirms Indice rule from above, that if you have a to the power m and you divide it by a to the power n, then the answer to that is simply a to the power of n, m subtract n. So here's a few questions that for you to try for yourselves. So what you should do now is pause the movie, try these for yourself, and I'll give you the answers in a moment. Okay, the answer to question number 1, x to the 4 divided by x squared. If we use Indice rule number 2, we have to subtract 2 from 4, and that's going to leave 2, so the answer here should be x squared. In number 2, we have b to the 4 divided by b cubed. Now 4 take away 3 gives us 1, but b to the power 1, we don't usually write it as b to the power 1, we just write it as b. Question number 3, we have z to the power 4 divided by z. Now as we see, z is just z to the power 1, so 4 take away 1 gives us 3. There we have z cubed. And question number 4, m7 divided by m to the 3 gives us m to the 4. There's our answer. And 5, we've got d to the 9 divided by d to the 4. 9 take away 4 gives us the answer 5. So we end up with d to the power 5. Now number 6 is slightly different. This time we don't just have the power terms, we have coefficients, we have numbers in front of the powers. So if we want to do this one properly, what we have to do is we have to treat it as a fraction first of all. So we write 4x to the 7 divided by 2x to the 3. And you can see that this calculation has 2 parts to it. We have to divide the numbers first of all, 4 divided by 2, and then we have to use Indice rule number 2 to do x to the 7 divided by x to the 3. Well, 4 divided by 2 is going to give us 2, x to the 7 divided by x to the 3 is going to give us x to the 4, so our final answer is 2 times x to the 4. You can see that another example of that in number 7, where we have to start off by taking 18p to the 8 divided by 3p and turning it into a fraction. And then we have to do a calculation in 2 parts. 18 divided by 3 would give us 6. P to the 8 divided by p to the 1 is going to give us p to the 7. So our final answer here is 6p to the 7. Okay, thanks for listening. Hope this is helpful, and we'll see you in the next lesson.